You are a farmer in the small, anxious settlement of Salem Village, and you are standing in a crowded meeting house, watching your world tear itself apart. A young girl named Ann Putnam Jr. suddenly screams. Her body convulses, twisting into an unnatural arch as if pulled by invisible ropes. She points a trembling finger at the woman standing before the magistrates, a respected church member named Rebecca Nurse, and shrieks that Nurse's specter is pinching her, biting her, tormenting her from across the room. You see nothing but the 71-year-old woman standing in quiet dignity, but others are gasping, shouting, their fear so thick you can taste it. Here is how you arrived at this moment. Your life is governed by a harsh faith and a harsher reality. It is the winter of 1692. You live in Salem Village, a parish of farmers on the edge of a vast, dark wilderness. Your Puritan world is one of order, prayer, and absolute certainty in the existence of God and the devil. The devil, you are taught, is not a distant concept. He is a real, active presence, constantly seeking to tempt souls and tear down God's commonwealth in New England. Your village is already on edge. For years, factions have been fighting over land, over money, over the new minister, Reverend Samuel Parris. You know the arguments. You've heard the bitter whispers after Sunday service. Parris is a rigid man, a failed merchant from Barbados who sees sin in every shadow. His sermons are filled with warnings of a divided congregation and the devil's attempts to infiltrate it. The air is primed for a spark. That spark ignites in the minister's own kitchen. Over the long, freezing winter months, a small circle of young women and girls gathers there. They include Parris's 9-year-old daughter, Betty, and his 11-year-old niece, Abigail Williams. They listen to stories told by Parris's enslaved woman Tituba, who he brought with him from Barbados. She tells them tales of magic and divination from her own culture. The girls, bored and constrained by their rigid lives, are captivated. They try a folk magic ritual of their own, dropping an egg white into a glass of water to see the shape of their future husbands. But one girl reports seeing the shape of a coffin. Soon after, Betty Parris begins to act strangely. She hides under furniture. She barks like a dog and cries out in pain. Then, Abigail Williams begins to have similar fits. Their bodies contort. They scream that they are being pinched and bitten by invisible forces. The local doctor, William Griggs, is summoned. He can find no physical cause for their ailments. He delivers a diagnosis that lands like a thunderclap. The evil hand is upon them. Witchcraft. The word spreads through the village like fire through dry grass. This is not a surprise to you. It is a confirmation of your deepest fears. The devil has broken through. Reverend Parris and other village leaders press the afflicted girls. Who is tormenting you? Who sent their specter to harm you? At first, the girls name no one. But the pressure intensifies. Finally, on February 29th, they name 3 people. The first is Sarah Good, a homeless beggar who mutters curses when you and your neighbors refuse her charity. The second is Sarah Osborne, an elderly bedridden woman who has not attended church in over a year and is embroiled in a dispute over her late husband's estate. The third is Tituba. They are the perfect targets, powerless, disliked, and outside the social order. Magistrates John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin arrive from the larger, more prosperous Salem town to conduct a public examination in the village meeting house. You and everyone else from the surrounding area pack into the cold building. Sarah Good is brought forward first. She denies the charges fiercely, but the afflicted girls writhe and scream in her presence, claiming her specter is attacking them right there in the room. Then comes Tituba. At first, she too denies everything. But you watch as Magistrate Hathorne questions her relentlessly. He is not seeking truth, he is seeking a confession. He badgers her, he leads her. He implies that confession is her only path. Sometime between the first and second day of her examination, something changes. Reverend Parris may have beaten her. She later states that her master told her to confess. When she speaks again, her story has transformed. She confesses. And she does not just confess, she elaborates with terrifying detail. Yes, she says, the devil came to her. He appeared sometimes as a hog, sometimes as a great black dog. He told her to serve him. He showed her a book, and she saw 9 names signed in it, 2 of them being Good and Osborne. She speaks of riding on a stick through the air to witch meetings, accompanied by a yellow bird and other creatures. Her confession is a revelation. It is the proof everyone was waiting for. It confirms that this is not an isolated attack, but a conspiracy. There are other witches in Salem, part of the devil's army. The Hysteria now has a narrative, and the hunt begins in earnest. The circle of accusers widens. Ann Putnam Jr., the intense 12-year-old daughter of a powerful village family, becomes one of the most prolific and convincing accusers. Soon, more girls join them, their afflictions validating the claims of the original group. They are no longer just troubled young women. They are prophets, instruments of God, revealing the devil's hidden agents. The accusations begin to climb the social ladder. In March, Martha Corey is accused. You are shocked. She is a full, covenanted member of the church. She has been openly skeptical of the girl's claims, and for this, she is now a target. During her examination, she laughs at the absurdity of the questions. The magistrates interpret this not as disbelief, but as the brazen contempt of a witch. The girls mimic her every move. If she bites her lip, they scream that she is biting them. Then, Rebecca Nurse is named. You cannot believe it. She is a pious, respected 71-year-old matriarch. 39 of your neighbors sign a petition attesting to her good character. It makes no difference. In the meeting house, as she stands before the magistrates, the accusers put on their most dramatic performance yet. They are the center of attention, their convulsions and screams taken as irrefutable evidence. John Proctor, a tavern keeper and outspoken critic of the trials, is next. He calls the afflicted girls scoundrels and suggests they should be whipped. His own servant, Mary Warren, is one of the accusers. When Proctor threatens to beat her if she continues with her fits, she briefly recants her stories. But the other girls turn on her, accusing her of being a witch herself. Under immense pressure, Mary Warren breaks. She not only rejoins the accusers, but points her finger directly at her master. John Proctor, she cries, forced her to touch the devil's book. Now he and his pregnant wife Elizabeth are arrested. The jails in Salem, Ipswich, and Boston begin to fill with the accused. They are held in horrific conditions, chained to the walls in dark, unheated dungeons. The chains are not just for security. It is believed they help to restrain a witch's spectral powers. In May of 1692, the new governor of Massachusetts, Sir William Phips, arrives from England. He sees the overflowing jails and establishes a special court of oyer and terminer to hear and determine to deal with the crisis. He appoints 7 judges, including the deputy governor, William Stoughton, as chief magistrate. Stoughton is a man of unbending conviction. He is absolutely certain that a diabolical plot is underway and that the court's duty is to eradicate it. The court makes a fateful decision. It will allow the use of spectral evidence. This means that if an afflicted person testifies that your ghost or specter appeared to them and caused them harm, their testimony is considered legal proof that you are in league with the devil. You cannot defend yourself against such evidence. How can you prove where your spirit was while your body was somewhere else? Your life now depends entirely on the words of a group of teenage girls. On June 2nd, the court hears its first case, Bridget Bishop. She is an easy first target. She is a tavern owner who wears a red bodice, an item considered too flamboyant by Puritan standards. She has been accused of witchcraft before. People testify that she bewitched their pigs and that puppets, crude dolls with pins in them, were found in the walls of her home. The afflicted girls go into fits in her presence. 8 days later, you watch as Bridget Bishop is taken to Gallows Hill and hanged. She is the first to die. The trials now move with grim speed. In July, 5 more are hanged, including Rebecca Nurse. At her trial, the jury initially returns a verdict of not guilty. The courtroom erupts in an uproar. The accusers redouble their fits. Chief Magistrate Stoughton tells the jury they must have misunderstood a statement she made. He sends them back to reconsider. Pressured by the court and the mob, the jury reverses its verdict. Rebecca Nurse is hanged. In August, 5 more are executed, including John Proctor. From his cell, he had written a letter to Boston clergy, begging for a change of venue or for different magistrates. He describes the torture used to extract confessions. His plea is ignored. On Gallows Hill, he recites the Lord's Prayer perfectly, something a witch was believed to be unable to do. It does not save him. The most gruesome death comes in September. Giles Corey, Martha Corey's 81-year-old husband, is a stubborn and difficult man. He knows the court is a sham. If he is tried and convicted as a witch, his property and land will be forfeited, leaving his children with nothing. To avoid this, he refuses to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. The court resorts to an ancient and brutal form of coercion, agapine, forte, et dure God. You hear the story from those who witnessed it. Corey is stripped naked. A heavy board is placed on his body, and large stones are piled on top, one by one, to force him to enter a plea. For 2 days, he endures the crushing weight. When the sheriff asks him to plead, Corey's only response is to gasp, more weight. He is pressed to death, never entering a plea, and his farm passes to his sons. 2 days later, his wife Martha and 7 others are hanged. It is the last and largest group of executions. By the autumn of 1692, over 200 people have been accused. The accusers, emboldened by their power, start naming people in neighboring towns, even members of Boston's elite families. They accuse the wife of Reverend John Hale, a minister who had been a supporter of the trials. They are rumored to have even named the wife of Governor Phipps himself. The authorities can no longer ignore the growing unease. Prominent ministers, led by Increase Mather, the president of Harvard College, begin to publicly question the court's methods. Mather publishes a powerful sermon titled Cases of Conscience Concerning Evil Spirits, in which he argues that it would be better for 10 suspected witches to escape than for one innocent person to be condemned. He powerfully condemns the reliance on spectral evidence. In October, Governor Phipps, likely influenced by Mather and the fact that his own wife was now at risk, orders a halt to the proceedings of the Court of Oyer and Terminer. He dissolves it permanently. He establishes a new superior court of judicature to handle the remaining cases, but with one crucial new rule. Spectral evidence is no longer admissible. Without spectral evidence, the cases against the remaining accused collapse. Of the 56 people tried by the new court, almost all are acquitted. The few who are condemned are granted reprieves by Governor Phipps. The great witch hunt is over. A deep sense of shame and regret slowly settles over Massachusetts. In 1697, the General Court orders a day of fasting and prayer for the tragedy. Samuel Sewall, one of the 7 judges, stands silently in his Boston church while his minister reads his public confession, in which he accepts the blame and shame of the court's actions. In 1706, Ann Putnam Jr., one of the most active accusers, stands before her,